What is Innovation Village? Imagine a place that welcomes all and is student-focused, where students do things differently, in a non-traditional manner, where attitudes are open-minded, where community partners will access expert resources of students and professors through project work, all with a view to fueling economic growth and social benefits. In the heart of the Fanshawe London campus, Innovation Village will be a physical and virtual hub where students will discover one-stop supports and exceptional learning. It will include collaborative workspaces, virtual reality and multimedia labs, a makerspace, project rooms, research support, and cutting-edge equipment. Why are we doing this? The workforce is ever-changing, and it is Fanshawe's responsibility to ensure students are prepared to meet the needs of employers. We will provide every student with a signature innovative learning experience and job skills for the future, so they gain the technical and human skills required for a changing world of work. Through the work of students, employers will gain exposure to future employees, and our community gains a creative, collaborative, productive workforce with experiential perspective. How does it work? Businesses, nonprofits, and public sector organizations can use Innovation Village as a front door to the college to gain access to student creativity, passion, and energy. Through projects, students and faculty will use their talent and skills to address real-world challenges and help create new opportunities. When will it begin? Innovation Village represents a commitment that has started and will continue to grow. Every day, students will develop future skills and participate in highly experiential learning opportunities, working with organizations in our community. It takes a village to change the way we think about learning, to think less about classes and more about learning experiences, where we all have a stake in the future, developing successful, creative, and resilient graduates that can respond quickly to an ever-changing world and make strong contributions to our community. It takes a village to do all this and more. Welcome to Innovation Village.
Hello, my name is Annette Markford, and I am the manager of Innovation Village at Fanshawe College. As the intro video revealed, we have embarked on an exciting renovation that will bring new resources to our students. We've included a learning commons, a makerspace, AR/VR lab, fully equipped meeting rooms, studios, and self-serve media labs. But what I want to highlight to you today is that the Innovation Village is a philosophy, a far-reaching concept within the college that has delivered what we call the SILEX commitment. We have promised to provide to every student in every program a signature innovative learning experience. These experiences are embedded in the curriculum and are realized in various ways. They could be a live client interaction, an entrepreneurial experience, a cross-collaboration, an intensive applied research project, or an experience with a global reach. In addition, we have asked our faculty to weave 3 of the 7 Fanshawe identified job skills for the future into the experience, with a focus on ensuring our students are able to articulate these skills to their unique experiences. Together, we will uncover the importance of an innovative approach and a village mentality to engage community partners, develop processes, provide platforms, and use everything within our reach, including hard hats, to build experiential learning opportunities for our students. Please welcome my first 2 guests, Natalie Rowe, who is a prof in our interior design degree program, and one of our 4th-year students, Sabrina Gerritsen. As we are all sharply aware, the pandemic has had a rapid and significant impact on our current teaching practices, which has required a new mindset for how we work and teach. Natalie and I started working together last summer when we both realized that Innovation Village, with the right mindset, could provide some unique learning opportunities to her students. So Natalie, let me begin with you. What aspects of SILEX are integrated into your interior design program, and how did you use the project with Innovation Village as a SILEX for your students?
Thanks, Annette. So the faculty of the Honors Bachelor of Interior Design program decided upon these together. And so the first of the SILEX that our faculty selected was applied research. And our job skills for the future were self-directed learning, social intelligence, and novel and adaptive thinking. And in the conversations that we've had together and looking at the Bachelor of Interior Design program and the project of Innovation Village, we saw many places where we could bring these aspects of SILEX into learning opportunities, in particular for our fourth year students.
Yeah, and to jump off of that, Natalie, I think that SILEX just kind of adds another layer to the already super robust program that you guys have put together for us. And I think our program has done a really great job at making sure that we as students are exposed to such a wide variety of pathways. And being involved in this project, Innovation Village, with Diamond Schmidt has been a really enriching experience for me being in fourth year as I approach graduation.
For our listeners, Diamond Schmidt is the architects that we've been working with on this project. So Natalie realized last summer that she was going to be challenged in terms of delivering an experiential learning opportunities to students. And I, as part of Innovation Village, the whole aspect is experiential learning. So I wanted to engage students wherever I could. So I reached out to Natalie to say, how can we make this happen? And so maybe, Natalie, you could explain a little bit about what exactly we are doing with Diamond Schmidt and with our facilities team in terms of the Innovation Village project.
Absolutely. This really, was an opportunity that aligned and came about at such a perfect time, because so much of what we offer our students already in our learning and something that I think sets our degree program in interior design apart is that we're constantly collaborating and we're always involved in community-based projects. So our students have that level of familiarity. However, when Innovation Village came about, it just seemed like that perfect fit of all of the things aligning that we strive to do, but to be able to connect to an actual physical design and architectural project that is happening on campus at Fanshawe, and to bring our students on board and give them a really highly involved and meaningful experience on a number of different levels, with the Innovation Village team being yourself, Annette, and Fanshawe College Facilities Management Team, and then also Diamond Schmidt Architects. So bringing this hybrid and collective of a group of individuals that already existed, and then allowing our student group, our fourth year students, to come in, not on the ground floor, but while the project was in progress, and to allow them to understand what had happened in terms of bringing Innovation Village to light, to really quickly bringing them up to speed on things, to having them do some research and to really understand the philosophy of what Innovation Village was. And then I think, as we'll speak to it as we get talking, to allow our students an opportunity that most students maybe would never experience, where you're interacting in not only a professional manner, and the students have the opportunity to exercise and execute the skill sets that they've collectively embodied over the last 4 years. They're interacting and engaging with very high level and respected industry professionals. And the biggest and best part is that it's a real project. This is not something that's hypothetical, which happens a lot and for many good reasons, but this is real. This is something that is happening at Fanshawe.
And so the specific project is, we wanted to find a way that we could get students involved. So we have, I think there's 12 different meeting rooms on campus or within the Innovation Village. And so we've asked our students to give us input in terms of the finishes and the furniture that will be happening in there. Now they have some restrictions, which, as Natalie has pointed out, is normal in any kind of a working environment, but the students have been allowed some freedom in terms of what they would suggest. And it is our hope that the architects will take this information and will integrate it into the Innovation Village. It'd make me feel amazing if students could walk back into the village and say, I designed this space. So Sabrina, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that feeling is like to be able to work on a project.
Yeah, so connecting with Diamond Schmidt has been a really incredible opportunity. They've been great mentors for me and my classmates. And getting to see kind of their design process firsthand has been a really great tool for me as I approach graduation. And like Natalie said, that working on these Innovation Village meeting rooms, it's a real world project. And the prospect of leaving just a little bit of our legacy on Fanshawe is such an exciting opportunity. The really great thing about it is kind of with those standard studio projects, you have a level of freedom and unbound creativity. But the really great thing that comes out of working on one of these real designs with industry partners is that it takes your work from being theoretical into being one where the details concerning the logistics and the feasibility of your design choices is actually really important. So it's been a great tool for me, especially in these last few months.
That gives us pride, doesn't it, Natalie?
Absolutely.
So, Natalie, how, in your opinion, does experiential learning benefit your interior design students?
It benefits our students on so many levels. I think in some ways, and I've noticed this with our student group, even though they've embraced it, it's a bit of a daunting task to think about being involved in something that is so important and, like Sabrina said, that is real. And so this, in particular, this aspect of Innovation Village and the meeting rooms, the students have had to become exceptional listeners and really listen to what is being unpacked and things that are already in progress or that have already been established, and respecting interior finishes and pieces of these meeting rooms that have perhaps already been tendered. And that level of respect and synthesizing actual details. Number one, they have to have those things in place. And then number two, we've been able to work together as a team with and without the students to organize these opportunities for students to actually present their concept. So they're looking at the existing floor plans, they're analyzing what is on it like you would working with a real team of professionals. They're looking at the elevations, the ceiling heights, what's going into the ceilings, and they're coming up with material and finished palettes for the team that is presented to the entire Innovation Village team, so to Fanshawe Facilities Management and to the team from Diamond Schmidt Architects. And then the way that team of professionals has listened to what our students have come up with, and the care and consideration to the student voice and the student piece. And truthfully, I think this is maybe one of the many amazing pieces of experiential learning, is that there's this beautiful back and forth of learning from one another. And Diamond Schmidt has spoke to several times in our discussions that the students maybe have thought about things that they didn't think about. And some of it is that, new and fresh learning perspectives, and also that the students are approaching this opportunity from the mindset of a student. So it's the interior design piece and the student mindset of what would I want in a meeting room.
So what I'm hearing is that the experiential learning is on both sides of the table, I guess, in this particular instance, which is really, I hadn't really thought about that, but they're taking away things from this experience as well. So, of course, we're in difficult times. So what are some of the adaptations or changes that has resulted as because of the pandemic that has affected this project, and how did you kind of overcome them?
There definitely have been some advantages, strangely enough. And I would say one is when you think about individuals' time and being able to come together and travel, platforms like Zoom, although we maybe never thought we would say it, have been really amazing tools for large groups of people to come together and have very important conversations in a pretty organized and concise manner. But even prior to that, Annette, when you and I were starting to work through the metrics of what this experience might look like for the students, Things came up like going to the millwork fabricator and looking at some really amazing details that the architects had come up with. And we thought, well, with the pandemic, how are we going to do this? And a solution came about where there could be an amazing videography crew and some of the people from Innovation Village and some people from DSA. And we went, and the Grigas Millwork put on the most spectacular show that is now captured on film. So it will be beneficial for students for years to come, but also it was part of the story for our fourth year students currently. The other was that there was a small group of students that were able to spend some time on campus and see, even though it wasn't the meeting room component, to get that vision of the bigger picture of the space. And again, that was captured in still photography and video. So even if the students weren't able to be there, they still felt invested because we haven't been on campus. These were some ways that the project as a whole could reach the students. So I think technology, the fact that we've been sharing information in files instead of physically passing and handing things over, and that, cinematography and video has allowed us still to have that somewhat real-time connection of things that are evolving on campus as Innovation Village is being built.
Sabrina, what do you think? Do you think COVID, how has it affected your learning in this final year?
Kind of ties into what Natalie said. And to be honest, the transition into the virtual format was a lot easier for me than I had initially anticipated. But I do miss seeing people face to face. But kind of like what Natalie said, I think that the Zoom format has been really great in bringing together large groups of people from all over the province. And when we collaborate with Diamond Schmidt, it's a lot easier to kind of organize those meetings with them early in the morning as they're flexible and working around our schedule, kind of bringing everybody together into one place and sharing those resources back and forth has become a lot easier in the Zoom format.
Yeah, so I think that, we've really had an opportunity here, and we've taken advantage, I would say, Natalie, of an opportunity. We thought, okay, we're doing some cool things on campus. I never thought of this, but because of COVID, we really thought, okay, you're not going to be able to do your regular programming with your students, but we have something on campus that would be great for your students. How can we find a way of collaborating and working together? So, were there challenges with the project, Natalie, and how did you navigate those?
There definitely have been challenges, but they have really added to the learning of all of this. Mm-hmm. One of our biggest challenges in the academic world is that I have students at a set period of time, and how do you expose them to as many opportunities as possible when you only have class on Tuesday at 9 a.m. And timetabling and scheduling is, I think, one of the biggest prohibitors sometimes to learning opportunities. And so that has been challenging, and the ability to, like I said, share files and to record things and update students in real time through technology, we've certainly circumvented that. I think, Annette, some challenges that we've navigated is that there are so many people that make up the pieces of this amazing puzzle. And so how do you get that buy-in on all levels? How do you, make sure that we can get students in and involved on a level that's going to be beneficial enough for them, that it's not something that's just sort of skimming the surface or letting them listen in on meetings, but maybe not have a voice. And those are things that, because there's already a construction schedule, I would say that's another challenge. It's like, where can we interject and do something that's meaningful to everybody that's involved? And truthfully, what I have seen that's exciting is not only our student voice and our student opportunity to interact with so many different industry professionals, But, to the point that we maybe were speaking about a bit before, there is now a newfound awareness, even within Fanshawe and within the Innovation Village team and facilities management, of just what our BID students are capable of doing and who we are. And to Diamond Schmidt, it has caused them to reflect and be a bit nostalgic about their days as students, but also to see the level of what we're producing and getting our students ready for as they get ready to graduate. And I think going back to that experiential piece, some students will never actually present a real idea to someone in the industry until they're working. Right. And these students have had that opportunity before they leave us. And so maybe you'll get through some of those jitters, not that we really saw them in the presentations anyway, but they will have had that first layer of experience of doing those big daunting things that tend to happen after graduation.
Well, I have to say, if your students had jitters, I certainly didn't notice them because they were amazingly professional in the way they presented in the very first meeting. Like I was wonderful. I was very proud of all of them. Not that it was unexpected, but it can be very daunting to do it, and they did a great job. So, Natalie, if we change the way we think about learning, really change our mindset, what does this mean for our students, do you think?
What I'm seeing through this, and I kind of anticipated it, but truthfully, it's becoming more apparent with each step we take with this project, is that our students are going to be innovators, and they are going to have a really nice polished level of professionalism that is going to lead them and take them to wonderful places. And, they really will be on that cutting edge of students who are very prepared and very much understanding of the roles and the collaborations and relationships that take place in the industry.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sabrina, so do you think that this project, I know it was limiting in some ways, but do you think that it has allowed you to show your creativity and your innovation within yourself?
I definitely think that it has. I think this project has really kind of allowed us to use our experience as students to contribute ideas to the Innovation Village meeting rooms, and to kind of consider what future students in our place might like to see in this final design. And kind of approaching this project from a design perspective has really allowed us to give input into the Innovation Village meeting rooms with an understanding of what students and faculty and what Fanshawe really wants to see for itself. And I really think that the creativity kind of comes from being able to use our foundation of knowledge combined with the great tools and resources that Diamond Schmidt has provided us in a way that's in the end going to be really functional and visually interesting. I think it's been a really great learning opportunity for me and my classmates in that sense.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. So I want you to describe to us how you think working through this real world problem or any other situation that presented real world problems has prepared you for a professional career.
So I think kind of having that preparedness when entering into a co-op placement or into graduation like me right now has been really great, and kind of easing that transition from academic environment into workplace environment. And this exposure to real world scenarios kind of eliminates a lot of anxiety by building up our confidence, and working with Diamond Schmidt, being able to present to industry professionals and industry mentors has felt really validating, getting to interact with them, hear their feedback and their suggestions for us moving forward in projects. And I think also this has helped to kind of eliminate some of those scary unknowns as we transition into the workplace environment. And it's just been really great to kind of work with industry mentors who can speak to the reality of the design industry today and help guide us in that sense.
That's fantastic. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add that we've missed, or that there's a piece you're just wishing to share with our audience here?
I am thrilled with all of the parts and pieces and how this project has unfolded, and how from an academic standpoint, we've been able to conduct some research prior to our actual physical work, that the students are learning more about Fanshawe as a college and about some of the cultural aspects, like some of the Indigenous culture that is being brought into the project. They've looked at precedent and case studies of other student centers and given a lot of thought and consideration to everything that has been put into this project. And just overall, to be honest, I feel personally, even as a prof, more connected to a wonderful group of people. I have met people that I've maybe worked in parallel with for several years that now we really know each other very well. So it has been this coming together and bringing together people. It's been an opportunity to challenge the students because some of the project details unfold maybe a few hours before class starts, but that's also very real world. And we have navigated it, I think, fairly evenly without anyone panicking. And it's really, some of it's been a just-in-time delivery, but like I said, that's real. It's very real.
I think kudos go to you too, Natalie, because I think you've done a tremendous job of being flexible and pivoting. And I know some of these final things kind of happened, dates and things as to when it was all going to happen at very last minute, but that says so much about your passion for teaching and for your ability to be flexible so that your students get the best experience. So we couldn't have found better partners in each other in this project.
Well, I'm thrilled that we have connected, and I really just want to thank you for believing in this aspect and selecting us to be a part of this process, because it really, especially in the pandemic, we need these amazing experiences and opportunities, and at times it seemed like a dream, and you really have brought this and helped make it a reality. So thank you so much, Annette.
Well, you know what? That's really what Innovation Village is really supposed to be. So I'm just pleased that we were able to deliver. So I want to thank you both for joining me today to share your experiences using Innovation Village as a live lab for learning. It has been an absolute pleasure for me to have a sideline view of your learning, Sabrina. You are so lucky to have a prof as dedicated and passionate as Natalie guiding you through this process. Sabrina, I am so looking forward to seeing your final presentation next week, and I wish you and your team the best of luck in your job search upon graduation. I know that this unique experience working with real life situation and presenting to our architects and facilities team will give you the right story to tell, the perfect experience to share, and the ability to articulate it with confidence and with clarity. So thank you both for joining me.
Thank you, Annette.
Thank you so much.
And the following video is an introduction to the next segment of this presentation to my guest, Misha Schlemmer from CityStudio.
In the past, I've had students do things that are outside the classroom, try to meet outside the classroom, focus on issues that are bigger than academia and that exist in real life around them. The difference with CityStudio is that this time the problems that the students were focused on were identified by the city. So they're working on real problems, things that people at City Hall are working on every day, and that they could use the benefit of some fresh eyes and some new talent.
We've really tried to simplify it on both sides. So for city staff, you meet with the professor, you kind of co-write the curriculum and syllabus. So it's tied directly to the challenge the city's identified. You meet with the class and their first or second week, you introduce the challenge, you talk to them, do a little Q&A, you check in mid-semester, and then you are part of a final evaluation.
The city benefits by having students contribute to those problems, and the students benefit because they're working on real issues that actually matter in the London community.
I was fortunate to be involved in 2 CityStudio projects, one in the fall, one in the winter semester. Both projects offer different sets of challenges. CityStudio is a great facilitator. They help bridge the gap between working with the City of London and being like a student at Fanshawe and offering the chance to work collaboratively with the city.
I moved to Canada. I didn't speak English at all. I'm a French speaker. So being able to be part of a project like CityStudio and having a seat at a table where my voice can be heard, where my idea can be heard, it feels empowering.
This is my first year as a program coordinator. I wouldn't say my skill set is networking or making those community connections. CityStudio is really just being that matchmaker and putting the time in so I could cross paths with those people that aren't just walking the halls at Fanshawe.
For me, if I'm to teach a community engaged learning course, it's that students are going to learn how to apply their scholarship. I see good community engaged learning, these kinds of projects, as a good linchpin between the university and the community.
Students instantly get more engaged. They're not just creating fictitious surveys or research designs. They're instantly having their work put to use and put to practice to have that community impact.
When you don't have a box to fit in, right? You can be all you want. You can create, you can develop things.
There were events, there were forums, there's promotion. And so the students' work is able to be shared with many people. Who knows who might be looking at this in the future? So the students are able to share their work and have it reach a much larger audience than you would in a normal classroom setting.
If people ask, like, what was your last semester like in school? Well, I did this really cool project involving the CityStudio and the City of London, and it's on their website. You can go and check it out.
We talk sort of sometimes like egghead academics. We use a lot of lingo. We don't necessarily think about what the practical implications are, but you can't do that if you're doing something for the city or a community group.
CityStudio not only builds great students, but it builds strong citizens. So for me, the real benefit of a program like this is that it affirms that value of contributing to the place where you live and being an engaged citizen very early, sometimes in a student's career. And that's the lasting impact that is way bigger than getting a degree. It means we're educating students who feel a commitment and an opportunity to contribute to the places where they live.
Having the opportunity to have a class like CityStudio to actually engage in such a practice just made me discover that I really like it.
I definitely think it's something that needs to stick around in London. After 1 year, I think they've proved themselves as a valuable community piece for sure.
It gave me a lot. It made me discover who I am. It made me discover what my actual interests are.
My CityStudio projects are definitely a part of my portfolio. I'm proud to have been a part of them.
Hello, also joining me today is Misha Schlemmer. Misha is the manager of CityStudio London. Welcome, Misha.
Hi, Annette.
Hi. Our guests just had the opportunity to view the faculty perspective on CityStudio, which provided some great insights. Since the inception of CityStudio 2 years ago, Fanshawe has participated in 13 projects that involved over 200 students, and we're looking forward to continuing the relationship next year as well. My first question for you, Misha, is, in your opinion, how does a formal collaboration like CityStudio benefit the city, students, and the institutions involved?
Thanks, great question. When I think about the city, one of the really interesting and compelling reasons for the CityStudio model is that we work under this assumption that by innovating and by experimenting together and in collaboration, we will innovate, in fact, in our community. And so the benefit to the city is that we run about between 20 and 30 experimental projects each year with city staff and embedded in academic research institutions of our city. And the output of that is real innovative thought, new ideas about how to approach their work, and potentially new solutions that hadn't been considered previously. So the city gets a lot of opportunity to innovate and reflect and engage with some new opportunities for addressing some of the challenges that the city works on. The other big advantage for the city is that the city gets to connect directly to the local talent pool in London. So they get to build these relationships with some of the top talent of our city, and start to create that employment pipeline as well for the city. And in terms of the students, obviously then the students are also building that potential employment relationship with the city, as well as the other partners, so the 5 post-secondary institutions, and then Pillar Nonprofit Network as well, our sort of home base for CityStudio. And so the students within their projects get to have some of these real career experiences where they're working on real projects, they're developing real job-related skills, and demonstrating their capacity to do those skills as well. So they're getting project experience that they can include in their CVs and they can speak to in job interviews. They're also building relationships, professional relationships. They're building their professional network with city staff, and with all the other collaborators that they come in contact with. So we are also asked often to be their references and for job interviews and different grad school applications. And we really build a personal relationship with the students. The students then, and sometimes in parallel, offer to volunteer with CityStudio. So if they want to have a more intense or experience with CityStudio, there are other opportunities for them to be involved, including one of the CityStudio alumni who's currently working with CityStudio as well. And then from the institution's perspective, one of the really exciting things about CityStudio London is that we're a collaboration between the city and then 5 post-secondary institutions. So this is a really unique opportunity for the post-secondary institutions to sit at the table together and to collaborate on developing this program together. Really through our governance structure, we're designing the program for London. We've used a model that comes from Vancouver, but we're also designing this custom model in London with our stakeholders here in London, and all of our post-secondary institutions are equal collaborators at the table for that collaboration.
Yeah, I found that really exciting because I've been able to sit at the table with my partners from the other institutions and learn how they're delivering experiential learning. And it's very different in each institution. So it's been it's been a great network for me, and I'm sure for my colleagues in the other institutions as well. So it's been a wonderful journey for all of us. Misha, you are aware that Fanshawe has made a SILEX commitment. So SILEX is the Signature Innovative Learning Experience. So it's a promise to deliver that experience, a significant experience, as part of their journey at Fanshawe. How does CityStudio support this Fanshawe's Promise?
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this program. I was really excited to learn about it, and I'm excited to learn more about it as well. And I'm curious about how we get to track the progress that we're making through our projects towards these different skills that we're targeting through the projects with Fanshawe. So I think the main areas that stand out for me are really obviously around the live client interaction piece. That's certainly an obvious piece. We're bringing city staff with their technical expertise. We're bringing them into the classroom. The students get to benefit directly from that technical expertise in their classroom environment. They're getting to work in a context that really simulates what would be similar in their professional experience, where they're having to navigate and listen deeply to what the client wants and what the client's priorities are and limits are, and then create a solution that is useful and that matches what the client kind of needs in that use case scenario. So I think that live client interaction piece is a big benefit. The other one obviously then is about the applied research. So we're taking the theory of the classroom and we're applying it to real projects. And they're not even conceptually real projects, they actually are real projects. So they're projects that come from the City of London strategic plan, and the students are working on these projects and they're getting to see that these projects are going back with the city staff back into their work towards the strategic plan and the future of our city. And the other piece, I think, is around the multidisciplinary nature of the projects. One might assume that we are matching, a management project with a management class, and that's not always the case. We had a management project last year working on a parks and recreation project. And so often the types of matching where we're seeing compatibility for matching is often based on some of the interdisciplinary nature of perhaps an area that city staff expertise doesn't have, to be able to match that with useful research and the research expertise of the post-secondary institutions, both the faculty and the students.
Yeah, and I've even found within Fanshawe, we now have collaborations between schools on projects where they brought somebody else, another class in because they feel that there'd be a good fit, which has been great internally as well.
Certainly. And we do also have the projects that happens live, and it also happens through the lifespan of CityStudio. So we're now also taking research from classes that have been finished, and we're pumping that back into a new project. So sometimes the research that happens in one class and in one department actually ends up being very useful to a whole different area of research for a different project.
Yeah, I agree. So that's great. I mean, such benefits all around for the community, for the institutions, and of course for the students. Is there anything that you've learned, perhaps something that you hadn't expected on the CityStudio journey?
Yeah, my background is in architecture and in urban design and city building. And so it's been really neat to learn about what the research components are on campuses. In particular, we've learned a lot about research ethics approval process. And so how do we apply, obviously, this really important approach to research from our post-secondary partners into these real projects to make sure that the solutions that we are creating have been created through a responsible and ethical means, and that also by doing these projects we aren't causing harm in doing so. So there's been some and ongoing research for us and learning around how to do that, in particular when we think about going out into the community, how we approach the community, how we're sensitive about how often we're approaching the community, what kinds of asks we're putting forward, also what kinds of situations we're putting the students in, and how to be sensitive about that, how to support the students in telling the story of their projects in a way that that also aligns with their integrity and their intention to do no harm through their projects as well.
So those are a few of the challenges, I guess. So in it, there are always a few challenges with projects like this. And how have you navigated those?
Yeah, it's funny because I wouldn't say that we've encountered really any big challenges so far with CityStudio. I think once we had all the partners around the table really ready to engage with CityStudio, there's really been a lot of good faith and trust really in building this project together. And so what I found is that every time we encounter any kind of challenge, we bring it back into the dialogue of the partners. We have a governance structure where we have a strategic advisory circle that meets quarterly and an operational working group that meets bi-weekly. And so we actually address challenges. We anticipate challenges because we have this networked approach where the expertise of each of our partners sometimes flags potential challenges in the future. So I think the strength of the program in London is that we really have strong partners that are fully engaged and committed to the program and committed to working through challenges that we face.
I would agree with that. At Innovation Village, we adopted the phrase, "It takes a village," that we all have a responsibility in aiding the education of people, most especially our youth. Do you agree that embedding innovation takes a culture shift, takes a village? Do you think this aligns with the CityStudio mandate?
Yeah, so I think that piece really brings to mind CityStudio's theory of change. And CityStudio is based on recognizing that we are trying to create change through our projects. So we are really working on this innovative process. We are doing innovation through these projects. We're calling for change. We're calling for action. And obviously we want to do that in a way that is sustainable and that is respectful of our community. So we are very mindful about being very sensitive to the complexity of the community that we're living in, and being mindful about also the complexity of the institutional partners that we're partnered with. These are really anchor institutions of our city, and it's pretty exciting to get to work together and to get to know more about each other and to learn where we have things to offer and then things to learn. and areas where each organization perhaps needs support and help from each other as well. So I would say that very much CityStudio has been a sort of container for that notion of the village that is creating this innovative change for London. And yeah, there's pretty infinite possibility, I think, for what we'll be able to do within the CityStudio model.
Well, and that actually leads me to my last question, which is, what are your hopes for CityStudio going forward?
Yeah, so I hope that we can offer this experience to more students. This year we had 800 students participate in CityStudio across the 5 post-secondary institutions. That still represents a pretty small percentage of the students in London. London has a lot of students. We estimate probably around 60,000 or more students in London. And so we would like to be able to offer the opportunity for students to participate in CityStudio to more students. That's a big goal for sure. We also are working really hard to refine the process of CityStudio itself so that the experience is ever more consistent for city staff and for faculty, and so that working on CityStudio projects is something that really you know, it doesn't take extra energy to do it. It's really mutually beneficial for everyone. And then I think the other piece is around the opportunity for research that CityStudio is doing. So through our projects, we're creating a lot of data analysis, and we want to be able to share that back out into the community so that London also, as a city, as a community, can have more kind of data-driven information about what's happening in our community. We can make more informed choices about where we want to go in the future and what kind of opportunities might be possible. So I think there's great opportunities through our partners, but also for our entire community. And then beyond to the other CityStudio locations, we are ever more connected to the other 13 CityStudio locations around the world. And that number is growing all the time. And we're really excited as well about what are the opportunities there for knowledge sharing and learning from across that network too.
Well, it sounds like great things ahead for CityStudio, and Misha, you have the right amount of passion to deliver all of this. So we're really lucky to have you at the helm. Thank you very much for joining me today and sharing the CityStudio model and your insights with us. And thank you, audience, for tuning in and joining me and my guests. If you would like more information about Innovation Village at Fanshawe College or CityStudio London, please feel free to email me at innovationvillage@fanshawec.ca. Thanks again for joining us.